Hello friends, it's week 7, the penultimate week of our Crowdfunder, and there's time for just one more history lesson. This week I want to think a little more deeply about the short motets in the Sosteni manuscript. There are over a dozen works that are under 2 minutes long, some even under a minute long, and some of them have texts from a specific office or liturgy, and others are a little harder to pin down. Motet is kind of a generic term. It doesn't get us anywhere close to understanding how a piece of sacred music might have been used. The nuns of San Matteo in Arcetri may have sung motets whilst their confessor was celebrating a spoken mass, or they might have used them as the highlight of a special vespers or procession on a feast day, or during the rite in which they accepted a girl into their community. But these pieces are very brief. Using them in these contexts would mean that whatever else was going on would have to have happened pretty quickly, or the choir would have had to start over again or sing something else, or who knows. In the few documents we have about San Matteo, though, there's one mention of singing that might relate to these short pieces. The convent's constitution, which was published in 1713, so 150 years after the Sosteni manuscript was copied, mentions processions that happened on Sundays and on other occasions throughout the year. But it also talks about communal devotional gatherings or visits. These happened weekly on Fridays in front of the crucifix, on Saturdays before the Virgin Mary, and on the 25th of every month in front of the oratorio of the baby Jesus. This might have been a painting or a nativity set, because the adoration of the nativity was a particularly important Franciscan practice. These visits were performed by the whole community and involved the singing of litanies, psalms, hymns, lauda, and prayers appropriate to each occasion. Given that they didn't happen in the choir, I wonder whether the nuns sang from memory so that those who didn't read music could join in. This feels to me like a community tradition passed down from generation to generation, and maybe the music was too, like school songs. Of course, this is speculation. I don't know for sure that visits were happening in the 16th century, nor do I know whether the early 18th century nuns were still singing music from the Sosteni manuscript. All I have is the practice on one hand and the music on the other, and the story in my head wants to put the two things together. But if you watched last week's lesson, you'll know that I do have evidence for musical practices continuing for over 150 years, so, it's possible. That's about it for this week. Goodbye from me and goodbye from Curtis, who's here. And we both would be really grateful if you could donate to our Crowdfunder, or pre-order the album, or just donate via our website. Thanks so much. Bye.